right, folks. Big number 3. What's special about it? Is there anything intriguing? Anything provoking? Anything mesmerizing about the number 3? You know, just looking at it, it doesn't seem like much. But if we evaluate the rule of 3 in literature, man, it speaks volumes. Who knew 3 little words, 3 little phrases, 3 simple acts repeated could actually make such a difference when it comes to a story. So what we're talking about is the magical rule of 3. It's just that there's this inherent rule that things are better in sets of 3s. Things are easier to learn in 3s. They're easier to remember. They just sometimes just make things better. So we're going to brainstorm for just a few minutes about, the rule of 3, just in life and literature, just in general. So if you'll just go ahead and do this with me in your notes, I'll have a pretty good list going here in just a minute. All right, so the rule of 3, let's put that up at the top. It's about that number 3. Okay, so think about plays, think about theater. Almost all of them come in 3 acts. So we could definitely add in the 3-act play. That follows the rule of 3. And what about the 3 Stooges? 3 Little Pigs. Think about Harry Potter, where we have 3 main characters. We have Harry, we have Ron, we have Hermione. So a lot of the times, if it's not 3 characters, it's 3 parts. What about our sizes, our drinks, our clothes? You can go with small, medium, and large. And then in today's society, large isn't good enough, so we have to go to the 44-ounce extra large. And because we drink so many extra larges, then we have to go to the extra large pants. So it works lots of different ways. What about good writing? What do we usually have in good writing? They teach you in elementary school that when you're summarizing, it's all about the beginning, middle, and end. So 3 parts. What about we have some speeches, when it comes to working hard, it's all about the blood, sweat, and tears. Shakespeare knew what he was talking about when he wrote Julius Caesar, and in a speech there made by Caesar, he says, "Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears." And so we have friends, we have Romans, we have countrymen. We have 3 groups of people. It's all about that rule of 3. Okay, think about a family unit. Typical families, we have mom, we have dad, we have a kid. We have 3 meals a day: breakfast, lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, supper, however you want to say it. All right, kids, before you race, I'm going to say ready, set, go. What about cheerleaders? Go, fight, win. Think about if you're on fire, what are you going to do? That's right. Stop, drop, and roll. Not just run screaming, because then you're just going to, catch yourself on fire even more. What about baseball? How many strikes do you get? Aha, that's right. 3. 3 strikes, and then you're out. What about our patriotism? Think about our flag. How many colors? Aha, red, white, and blue. What about Rice Krispies? It's all about the snap, crackle, and pop. Guys who look good, they're tall, they're dark, they're handsome. Oh my gosh, I could keep going on. I'm ready, willing, and able. When I put my whole body into it, it's all about the blood, sweat, and tears. If I'm going to catch a fish, it's going to be with hook, line, and sinker. What about A Christmas Carol? We have 3 ghosts. We have Goldilocks and the 3 bears. We have 3 blind mice, 3 billy goats gruff. We already wrote down the 3 little pigs. So what I want you to do right now is see if you can come up with a list of at least 5 other examples that fit the rule of 3. Things that I didn't just say. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. So don't speak of this to anybody else in your class. I want you to write down 5 more examples on your list, and you're going to come with those to class next time. So write those down for me. It's all about that rule of 3. All right, so speaking of the rule of three, let's go ahead and talk about magical helpers too, because the rule of three often applies to fairy tales, to children's literature, and magical helpers. Man, that fairy tale stuff, the children's lit, it's all about having magical helpers. So let's go ahead and turn to a new page, and at the top put magical helper. So magical helpers have certain qualifications that they must meet. So in their job description are pretty much 5 different things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now they don't always have to have all 5 attributes, but usually they meet at least 3 or 4 of them. And so with a magical helper in literature, first and foremost has to have some kind of magic powers. They may have a magical instrument like a wand, or they may have a potion, you know, like a witch's brew or something. So first and foremost, a magical helper has to have some kind of magical powers. Are you thinking of anyone from literature now that this might apply to? Magical powers, anybody? So magical powers, instruments, or potions. Basically some way of conducting magic. Alright, number 2. The magical helper is not usually the main character. They are there to assist the main character. So magical helper is all about helping out somehow with the magic. That's kind of the role that they play. So this magical helper is going to be kind of a secondary character, and they usually assist the main characters. Because their role is basically the same in every single story. They're there for the magical aspect of it to provide assistance. They really don't change a whole lot from story to story. So if you'll think about it that way, they're probably more of a static than a dynamic character. Not always, but usually. All right, third attribute is that this magical helper is usually very wise. They've been around for a long time. Sometimes they're immortal, which means that they don't really ever die. They just kind of always hang around. So they are usually pretty wise. They're very smart, and they just seem to know things that nobody else knows, and stuff that they shouldn't really know. All right, number 4. What else can you think about a magical helper that they might be able to do? They have magical powers. They assist the main character. They're usually very wise and just pretty much know everything. 4th is that they can actually appear and disappear just like that in the blink of an eye. They just show up. Nobody knows where they came from, and then all of a sudden they're gone, and nobody even realized that they left. So, can appear and disappear in the blink of an eye. It's all about that magic. Alright, last characteristic of a magical helper is that somehow, because they are so very wise, and it seems like they've been around forever, they can actually foretell the future. They usually seem to know what's going to happen before it actually happens. So, can foretell the future. It could be that they have a magical ball that tells them, or maybe just a vision comes to them while they're sleeping. So, can foretell future. Okay, so your task with these notes is to take what I told you, take all these characteristics that magical helpers typically have, and I said usually for them to be magical helpers, they have to have at least 3 or 4 of these characteristics to fit the bill. So what I want is a list of 3 or 4 magical helpers that you can think of from either literature or cartoons or movies. So again, do they fit these characteristics? If so, probably going to be a magical helper. So tell me what their name is, if you know their name, or if not, just their job title, and then which story it is that they come from. So when you come back to class next time, you are going to have, from your rule of 3, you're going to have 5 more examples that fit this rule of 3 that we did not already go over. And then for the magical helper, you're going to come up with 3 or 4 lists of names that are people who could be categorized as magical helpers. All right. Go forth and do good work.